Yes, you can win your VA disability claim even if you're decades removed from service and even with no in-service medical records. I'm going to show you how to do that today. We're going to go through the action steps for how to do so. I'm Jordan Anderson with VA Claims Academy. Let's get right into it. So loads of veterans don't believe that they can still win their VA claim because, hey, this was in 1984 or it's been so long and I didn't file a claim. There's no way I can get approved now. Well, nothing's further from the truth. So if you're one of the individuals where you call the National Archives and they basically had to send Indiana Jones to go dig up your records and blow the cobwebs off of them, this is for you. You absolutely can file and win your VA disability claim. And here's how. Well, the first thing seems pretty simple, but loads of people mess up on it. We understand no one went to the doctor during service at that point. No one went to the doctor. However, now the very first thing you have to do if you want to win your claim, you got to get to the doctor now because this is a bureaucratic process. It's not based in reality. It's based on what's on paper. It's paperwork based. So you've got to get to the doctor and get whatever you're experiencing diagnosed. Even if you've had it diagnosed, let's say 5 years in the past, maybe a year in the past, go ahead and check up again, get that diagnosis refreshed, get it updated to move forward with your claim. The reason is picture this. You want your narrative to be consistent. So picture if you didn't like your meal at a restaurant, let's say it was a tomahawk steak, and you called the waiter, waiter, I didn't like this steak. The waiter looks down and you've eaten the entire steak. What you're telling them is inconsistent with what they're seeing, right? So the VA only sees your paperwork. So if you're telling them, hey, you know what, I need this VA claim, or I need this increase because my condition worsened, or I need this to be service connected, but then they look at your paperwork and you haven't been to the doctor, there's the inconsistency there and that'll mess you up. So I hope that metaphor, you understand that because what you say, they have to see as well, again, on paper. So get to the doctor. Next, what veterans then struggle with is the time gap. Yes, you can win so far removed from your service with all that time period in between. You can win. However, that time gap does need to be addressed. And here's the reason why. Let's say you have degenerative disc disease and you were jumping out of planes when you were in service many, many decades ago. Still, even if you had it in your military service records, the VA could look at that and say, hey, well, you didn't make a claim then. Now you're making it a claim when you're 72. Could it just be old age, right? So they're going to ask you those type of questions. So what you really want to do to help mitigate that time gap is you're going to want to, one, display and show quality personal statements on Form 4138 about how you've had this for the whole time. Maybe you haven't gone to the doctor until recently. Now it's unbearable. But two, you're definitely going to want to obtain a nexus letter. So each condition that you've had this massive time gap for, you're definitely going to want a nexus letter in order to really reinforce that claim and have the best odds, because nothing's guaranteed, have the best odds at winning. Briefly, for those who don't know, all a nexus letter is, or a medical opinion, is essentially your doctor, preferably your treating doctor, saying that it's at least as likely as not that you're, in this example, degenerative disc disease is related to your military service. That will really help tie the gap and make it more difficult for the VA to deny that your current condition is related to service all those years ago. When you combine that with your personal statement, which is your lay evidence, right? You as a lay person, so not a medical professional in the context of this claim, you're also aligning with this, again, the consistent narrative, saying your side of the story from a layperson. Yeah, hey, I landed hard in service. My back was messed up. I didn't go to the doctor then. Really, I didn't go to the doctor till recently, but this pain has been consistent throughout. Here's my medical evidence. Here's where I've been getting treated. And here's the opinion from my treating doctor who believes that it was caused by service. That is how you really tie things together and give yourself the absolute best odds at winning, yes, even if you were decades removed from service. So what are some conditions to where you don't have to jump through these hoops with? Well, two right off the top of my head come to mind, and that is combat-related PTSD. So, which doesn't necessarily mean combat. The CRSC qualifications for something being combat-related, according to the VA, is something that's involved instrumentation of war. So boats, planes, live rounds, or being a combat simulation. So even training exercises. If your stressor event occurred in one of those realms, so not just combat, not just on the front lines, but in a combat zone involving instruments of war or in a combat simulation, yes, that's qualified as combat-related PTSD. If that is your claim right there, it's a much easier path because that is so much easier service-connected due to its presumptive nature than other conditions would be. So in that case, really, you wouldn't need a nexus letter. And that's when your personal statement would do a lot of the heavy lifting because it really is at that point about your story. You don't have the same burden of proof with combat-related PTSD as non-combat because the VA knows that a lot of combat operations are sensitive in nature, they're classified in nature, and really, they don't expect you to prove that any of that actually happened. So it's just going to be your personal statement that does a lot of the heavy lifting. That's why I write a lot of combat-related PTSD personal statements for my clients, personal statement templates, custom for my clients, and that's going to be one of them. The second one is very similar, and this is MST, so military sexual trauma. That's going to be another one which the burden of proof really isn't very high because there's a lot of retaliation that could happen with MST. There's a lot of sensitive things. So you don't even have to name names of who did it. You don't really have to provide many details. And these are two that could be very easily service-connected, even decades removed. So vets, I really hope this helped you out. This is an action plan of what to do. Intent to file, right? So if you're going to file a claim, even if you haven't been diagnosed, go ahead and start your intent to file today. That way you can get your pay backdated to today, provided that you're successful, and I hope you are. Next, visit the doctor, get on paper, right? Nexus letters if needed, personal statements for sure for each condition, and that will really help reinforce this claim. Go out there, vets, get a victory. I hope it goes well for you, and I'll see you in the next one. Like this video, share it with someone who needs it. Cheers.